Hey there, this is your host Brian, and I'd like to introduce you to our special guest today, Clarke Bishop of Tech Marketing Team. Clarke has been the owner and leader of several technology service companies, and he knows just how painful it can be to put in all the time and effort to educate yourself, to work hard, yet still fail to realize your business dreams. If you're the owner or leader of a technology service company, then it's highly likely that Clarke's been exactly where you are right now, and he knows how to answer all of these problems. And those answers will lead to marketing that really works, attracts new customers, increases profitability, and helps you focus on the most effective growth strategies that will help you get the most out of your business. In today's interview, our topic is going to be how to find leads that are eager to buy your IT services. Clarke, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Sure, Brian. Thanks.
Well, how was your 4th of July, real quick, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it was wonderful. We've been having lots and lots of rain here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, so it kind of slowed down the fireworks and other things. But it's always great to have a holiday and get to sort of celebrate the advantages of living in America.
Oh, absolutely. And I was celebrating that into the very early morning with with all my friends, just well, small gathering rather, and just playing video games, enjoying life. Everyone enjoys some time off. So there might be some viewers, or rather listeners, who aren't really familiar with you yet, Clarke. So why don't you go ahead and tell them what at least what I've come to know, why you're so awesome at marketing and why they should listen to you.
Well, we are the pretty much the only marketing agency that's focused exclusively on technology service companies. And so it turns out that a lot of different technology companies and IT companies and people that do those kinds of things have very similar problems. So we work with people across the country to help them grow their business, to help them find the right leads, and to help them measure it all so that we make sure that they get a good ROI from that. And we came to focus on IT companies and technology companies because we were doing lots of marketing for a lot of different companies. And I had actually run a technology services company, a software development company, and had realized all the problems and challenges that come from not having marketing right. And so when you put all, and I really saw the benefit of it, and I've experienced the pain of knowing that you're a better fit and that you work harder and know more and provide better service than the next guy, but then don't have enough customers and suffer from that. So it just got tired of it, and since I've got a background in engineering and I love technology, who do I love the most? Technology companies and technology service companies. So why not focus just on that group? So that's what we do, and that's who I am.
Oh, well, that's very enlightening for our listeners, I'm sure. And I know personally that there are plenty of similar practices between businesses when it comes to marketing, but I also understand that there are plenty of differences for each one that make them unique. And so for you to have really hammered down and just focused on information technology services, I think you're doing a great service for people, especially because you are, as you said, at least to your knowledge and to mine, probably the only one out there that's doing this.
Yeah, there are people that have some of the pieces in place, and they're people that try to serve technology service companies, but we're really the only full service agency that's focused in that area, and so we're able to make things happen. It gives us a cost advantage too because we can learn from one company and apply what we've learned and what we found that works for other companies.
Well, that's always great news. And I know that something very important to any business is leads. And so when it comes to leads for information technology companies, it seems like every technology service firm complains about not having enough good leads. Is there really an answer to that?
Yes.
How, well, let's move on then. That's great news.
there,
I hope they find out how.
there
So,
is there,
so how about if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of insight on that.
Yeah, there actually are a lot of things that can work, and but one of the things that doesn't get enough attention and enough people don't do it well enough is something I want to talk about today. And there's really two parts to that, to the question you ask. One is, how do you find leads? It's fairly easy to find leads if you define a lead as anybody who won't delete your email messages or report you as spam, or anybody who won't hang up the phone when you call them. But that's not really a good lead. Good leads are the people that have a good chance of actually buying from you. And so, the real question is how do you find good leads, the kinds that are going to turn into customers, or at least a fair percentage of them will. And here's the best way I know to do that. It's with LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And most people have probably heard of LinkedIn or dabbled in LinkedIn a little bit. And it's like a lot of things in marketing, dabbling doesn't work very well. So, the thing, if you don't know that much about LinkedIn, what it really amounts to is, if you know social networks like Facebook or whatever, LinkedIn is the short answer is LinkedIn is Facebook for business, but it's really a whole lot more than that. It's like a 24 hour a day, 7 day a week trade show where you can connect with almost any company or business person. And for many of us that have been to trade shows in the past or networking events, you go to a networking event or trade show, and maybe if you do it really well, you've done some homework ahead of time and you figured out who your targets are and you network around and connect with the right people. For most of us, we're so busy getting ready to go to the trade show or the networking event that we neglect to do that. And then we get there and we'll talk with anybody who will actually talk with us. And usually it turns out they're the competition or some lower level person, and it doesn't really get us very far. So and you've got the same things to watch out for with LinkedIn, but used effectively, it's absolutely a fabulous way to get you connected with the right kind of people, the people that can and will buy your services. So, one more thing I'll say about that. Facebook has typically, and maybe to a degree, Twitter have gotten more attention, but there's no question that with LinkedIn, it's the best tool for making business connections over the internet. There's over 200 million people on LinkedIn, and many of them are managers, owners, and decision makers. And so it's really a great source of connecting with the people that you want to meet. And it's a good time to be talking about LinkedIn because they just had their 10th birthday. So happy birthday, LinkedIn.
Well, happy birthday to LinkedIn then. Uh, but like you were saying, even though Twitter and Facebook, they might get more visitors, they might have more, what I guess I could say notoriety, but it's all about the target market. And as you said, you have leads that, some people consider leads someone who won't hang up the phone right when you call them, but getting somebody that's built for your business that is the right kind of qualified lead, it doesn't matter if you have less people if they're more highly qualified. And that's exactly why LinkedIn is so great. And now I'm self-conscious of it because you said some people dabble in LinkedIn. Well, I've only dabbled in LinkedIn a little bit. And so I have gotten to know it a little better. And I find that the connectivity is amazing. And so when I find a client or somebody that I'm going to be working with, and then I look at the businesses that they've done business with, and then from that business is linked all these other businesses, and so hence the name LinkedIn. It's just like a massive web of connectivity, and you can find people who are there who you can help, who can help you, and just the the opportunity for building business and for connecting with people and getting customers and clients has never been so available at your fingertips, I don't believe.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, since I have heard a lot about LinkedIn and I've dabbled in it myself, uh, how do you really get good leads from LinkedIn?
Well, we were talking a little bit before about networking, and it is ultimately, if you've ever developed or learned about good networking skills, they can all translate and apply over to LinkedIn. But there are some things that that you do need to know. And what's so great to me, and you kind of touched on it a minute ago, what's so great to me about LinkedIn is all the information you can get on somebody. And people for years have been describing networking as a little bit like dating. And there's that. I've been married for a long time, so I've kind of forgotten about dating, and my wife didn't really allow me to date anymore. But
Oh, what a surprise, right?
that's right. But when I can think back to dating, there's that awkward. When you go on a first date is with somebody you don't know well. There's that awkward. Well, what are we going to talk about in the beginning? Well, what's so great about LinkedIn is that you can look up somebody's profile and figure out who they are, where they went to school, what kinds of things they're interested in. You can learn so much about their business interest. If you want to know about their personal interests, Facebook may be the better place for that. But if you want to know about their business interest, what they really care about, and perhaps what their problems are, then LinkedIn is a great way to accomplish that. And go ahead.
No, no, no. I thought you were passing it over to me, but why don't you keep going? I'm learning actually.
So let me tell you about the kind of top level key steps and the key things that you got to do to use LinkedIn effectively.
Hmm.
The first one is you got to know who is a great fit for your business. Who's your target, or who's the persona that you're after. You can't go get 200 million people on LinkedIn all to be your customers all at once. You'll just smash yourself against the wall. So, uh, so, and I find this with a lot of IT and technology service companies that they'll say things like, "Well, everybody needs technology." Well, this is true, but everybody's not a great fit for your company. It seems like, I guess it was a couple of times ago we talked about what's unique about your company, and so you want to have a really clear idea of who can you do an absolutely fabulous job for. For a lot of technology service companies, you're focused in a specific geographic area, so that's the first thing. If
Hmm.
if you're in, let's say, Des Moines, Iowa, and your customers are going to be mostly in the Des Moines, Iowa area. Well, don't bother too much with people that are in California. They're probably not going to be the best fit for you. And that's just the surface level geographic constraint. But it could be that you are particularly good with, say, veterinarians. Maybe you love animals, and so you just naturally connect with veterinarians and find that you've got a number of veterinarians in that are customers. Well, why not have all the veterinarians in the Des Moines area? And so you can start to do that kind of research and find companies that fit a given profile like that. And I would say that's the second important key step, is learn how to do really effective searches on LinkedIn. I find a lot of people don't really understand the full power, and there's so much you can do. You can put geographic constraints, you can search for keywords, you can look for specific types of companies and types of people, and it's a very powerful way to find the exact right profile, as long as you've got the profile in the first place.
Hmm. And something you said there about targeting, say, veterinarians. I remember you and I discussed in a previous interview how some people, yeah, you have technology companies say, well, my service would be great for everyone. Well, that's fine, but when it comes to targeting, you always want to go deep before you go wide. And so it's easier to target somebody who you cater specifically to. The more specific, the easier it is to target them. And some people think, oh, well, then I won't have enough of an audience. I said, well, then you'll have an audience at least. You'll have a target market that will know that you're there specifically for them. And after you start building rapport with them and providing services for them, and you start generating income and building out your business, then you can expand more. And that's exactly what happened to Facebook, as we went over before. And so that's a great example to go by. Facebook started being built to cater to people, I think it was Ivy League universities, and then out to community colleges, and then to the rest of the world. So you start small and then you build outward.
You bet. You bet. And the truth is there may not be enough veterinarians in Des Moines. So, but then you can start looking at, well, what's an adjacent segment? And veterinarians, I don't know if they need that many that much IT service. I don't know if they're the best example to think of, but there are plenty of companies, maybe a company that does some type of financial services is a really good fit for you. So then you can identify financial service professionals in the Des Moines area. So it's looking for a group that has something in common, so that you can focus your efforts.
Hmm.
And it's really the focused effort. It doesn't mean that something to watch out for. Sometimes when people hear me talk about the need to focus and be specific, like you were saying,
Hmm.
sometimes people think, well, that means that means I can only accept business from veterinarians. No, that's not what it means. It means for the purpose of your marketing, you're focusing an effort on veterinarians, and that'll get you better results. But you can still accept business from anywhere, and even in parts of your website, keep them, and parts of your marketing messages, keep them broader and more general, but still have things that are specifically targeted at your ideal segment.
Absolutely. And some people, I think, forget that even though they build a website to, in this case, target veterinarians, that they can change things as they go along. As they grow, they can change their target marketing, and they could change their website, they could change their ad copy, and everything is fluid, it's liquid, it's malleable. And I think another thing that, especially since we're on the topic of LinkedIn, since you're connecting with business owners, there might be a fear factor, like an intimidation factor that people face. I know that when I first went into selling, there's an intimidation factor about it. And people have to just say, hey, I'm a business owner, and they're a business owner, and we're both professionals, and I have something that they can definitely get use out of, so why not try to connect with them?
That's right. That's right. And something that's really interesting about that, I know for myself personally, I always hated going to trade shows or to those big networking events because I don't like that sort of surface level small talk, connected, exchanging business cards with 200 people and all that kind of stuff. It's
Hmm.
it feels kind of fake to me. It's not that I'm really afraid of people, but it's just not much fun for me. But when I know that somebody is a graduate of a specific university and they're interested in things that I'm interested in, and I'm convinced that I can really do a great job of helping them, then I love talking with those people and connecting with them. So it completely changes the whole thing for me.
Absolutely.
So I was telling you about some of the key things you got to do to make LinkedIn work. And
Hmm.
we talked about having a clear target and learning to do searches. There are, besides learning about searches, there are some things you got to do to learn the basics of LinkedIn, and you need to kind of learn how to move around in there. And it's really important to complete your profile and your company page. Those are almost, you should think about those and give those as much attention as you would a page on your website. And they can actually help people find you and help you attract people. And then this is probably the biggest thing about LinkedIn. It actually applies to all networking. You got to give to get.
Mm.
And what I mean by that, it typically means you're providing useful information, useful content, useful tips, useful connections, introductions, There are all kinds of ways to give, but by giving, then you're able to establish yourself as the kind of person that people want to know. And I don't know if you and I have ever talked about the reciprocity principle, but it's the reason that salespeople for years have taken people to lunch or dinner,
Hmm.
is that there's kind of a natural inclination among human beings that if if I do something for you, you sort of feel like you should do something back for me.
Yes.
And that's the reciprocity principle. And so if I give you something useful, then you're more than open to helping me meet your friend over in the Des Moines Veterinarians Association and getting me connected there. So there are a lot of ways that you can get content out on LinkedIn, and you can participate, but promoting content and other events that you're having to that specific group can just it sets you up as the kind of person that people want to know, and it connects you in that right way so that you've got reciprocity working for you, and people are inclined to work with you when they have a need.
Absolutely. And so, on that, when it comes to a time factor, in LinkedIn, I know can be very consuming because just for me dabbling with it, I end up going from page to page to page, looking from all these different businesses to the connections and how many employees they have and everything. There's so much data to take in per individual. So, but how much time does it take to do it right and start seeing results from it?
The the base level, it does take some time. And that's probably one of the reasons there's a lot more dabblers than there are people really building businesses from LinkedIn. Um, it to really get it rolling and establish the presence you want and do all the things that need to happen, it really takes about somewhere between 4 and 6 hours a week. And for I mean, we do some of these things. We actually manage this for some of our clients, and so we can usually get it done in about 4 hours a week. But for somebody who hasn't done it before, 6 hours per week is probably a better time estimate. Um, and the I can kind of run down some of the key things that we do each week and each month, if that would be helpful.
I think it would be.
The So the first thing is you can do status updates in LinkedIn, and it's kind of like a tweet or an update in Facebook, sort of the same thing, but it's a way to put some information out there about what you're doing and what's going on. It's a great way to share just a little bit of content, and people may or may not see it, but we typically when we're doing it, we'll cross post that information over to Twitter, so we do get some Twitter impact as well. Then there's an ongoing process of requesting connections from targeted contacts. So once you've identified that your focus is financial service companies and in Des Moines, then identify those people and reach out to somebody that knows somebody, or reach out to somebody who's directly inside one of those companies. Build up your network. Like any kind of networking, the larger your network, the more your reach and the more results you can get. The requesting endorsements in LinkedIn, people will endorse each other. So it's also we talked about giving to get. So you can reach out and endorse somebody and then ask them to endorse you back if it's somebody that you've worked with in the past or that knows about your specific capabilities. LinkedIn lets you join up to 50 different groups, and very few people actually join that many, but you really should. And find the right groups. There might be a Des Moines Chamber of Commerce group or Des Moines Business Leaders group. So find the relevant groups and find the right local groups and join them, participate in them, promote content to them. That's the great way to get the message out, and people will see that content and they'll connect with you and they'll get to know you. We typically will do, you can't do the content promotions every day. We typically shoot for one a week. And the status updates, we do 3 or 4 of those a week. We also do a broadcast message to all of your contacts once a month. And then you can start your own group. That's a very effective way to start building your own list of people that are interested in what you are and that are your ideal target prospects. And then the other activity that goes with that, besides sending content to the group and interacting with the group, is looking for the appropriate people and invite them to join your group. So overall, you're able to build up a pretty large group of people over time that are those perfect prospects and perfect customers. And you can't control whether somebody who's a perfect prospect is ready to buy right then, but when they are ready to buy, you're going to be on the short list.
Absolutely. And wow, that was a very, very excellent list, and I think that our listeners are going to get a tremendous amount of value just out of that alone. And we're getting a little short on time, but I think I have time for one more question. So, out of all this stuff you told me, and I'm sure this information's out there because you learned it yourself from somewhere, you put in the time and the effort to learn it. But why don't more technology companies do this effectively?
Yeah, I think the key word there is effectively. A lot of people have heard about it and dabble a little bit, like you admitted to. Thanks for being so generous in admitting you're a LinkedIn
I'm
dabbler.
so ashamed, and now it's going to be on the web.
Yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. But uh, I think the biggest reason people don't do it effectively is it does take work. It's hard to find those 4 or 6 hours a week to make that investment, and you can't do 6 hours one week and then wait a couple of weeks and then do another 6 hours. It has to be done consistently, and it does take a little while. You can start getting results and getting leads pretty quickly depending on your situation and your target. But at the same time, people get discouraged because in the front part, it's more work than it is later on, and so it definitely is definitely a risk of getting discouraged. So it's best to have somebody that'll support you and help you know that you're on track with it all. Uh,
Ah,
then just a couple other things that'll get you. I've talked several times about having that clear target and knowing your customer. If you don't have that down, it's not going to work.
hmm
And you can sometimes people will dream up an ideal customer, but it's somebody they don't know anything about. Well, you got to go learn about them first. Because you've got to create valuable content that makes sense to them and adds value for them. You can't just make stuff up and put it out there. And the one last thing I'll warn you against is getting too sales oriented. This is about making connections with people that are your ideal prospect. It's not about selling on LinkedIn. You can occasionally slip in a sales message, something like, "Hey, we're running a special for July 4th." Um, but um, but mostly focus on adding value and creating those connections, and then people will, when they're ready to buy, they'll let you know.
Absolutely. And what you said there about not selling, it reminds me of a line I heard from Rich Schefren, and I know the line didn't originally come from him, but I heard it from him. He says, the purpose of marketing is to make selling superfluous, meaning, and I figure you know what it means, but
Sure.
basically to make selling unnecessary. You market yourself so well, you provide so much value that you don't even need to sell people, they just want your services.
That's right. That's right. And don't forget to use LinkedIn in sales support too. If somebody calls you on the phone, immediately put them into your LinkedIn hopper and start connecting with them that way.
Hmm. Well, that is all very fantastic, Clarke. We've had a great time, and if you're listening to this interview and you'd like to learn more about how to identify and to fix the marketing mistakes in your technology business, Clarke has generously offered a free 30-minute marketing tune-up call, especially for listeners of this interview. In this tune-up call, Clarke will help you identify what might be the biggest holes in your marketing strategy, as well as the biggest opportunities for additional profit in your business. Spots are limited and will be made available on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you're interested, or even just curious to learn more, then you're going to want to sign up for one of these spots and reserve a free one-on-one marketing tune-up call with Clarke at no cost to you. To do this, visit techmarketingtuneup.com. Once again, that's techmarketingtuneup, all one word, .com.